Hello world. So vlog number 1. Thought I'd just take you along on a ride to the grocery store to get some food for the role-playing game session. We're going out from where I live here in West Seattle out to Beacon Hill on my Ninja 300. This is it. So a lot of people call this a beginner bike, which is what it is too. It's great to learn how to ride on. I pretty much learned how to ride on it. Yeah, so it looks like a sport bike. A lot of people think it's a 5 or 600. One guy actually guessed it was a 1000. Yeah, one guy did. See, I got it with these smoked windshield on it, and also the original owner had the fender eliminator, and I actually looked into I had to do something about that integrated turn signal, because that just wasn't acceptable. Like, you can't see that. You know, if you're in a semi truck on the freeway, motorcycle with a little yellow flashing light, you could probably hardly even tell which direction they're going. So I actually went out and got the original fender. Ended up being the best deal, $25. And I got, you can see, a little cargo rack goes on the back. Only takes like 11 pounds. But I did some modification here, and I want to do deliveries with my bike, and I did not want to wear one of those ridiculous, Postmates backpack things. So what I did instead was I got this food delivery bag, a square bag, and took a board, put it inside there, drilled some holes, so attached it to the bag, and to keep it from drooping in front of the light, I used some heavy-duty staples right there, and I lined those holes up, those eye hooks, with these tie-down points on the rack, and I just zip tied it together. And so anytime I want to take it off, it just cost me 4 zip ties. Had to shim it in here, trying to keep the weight more on the seat because of the low limit of the rack. But yeah, it's worked out awesome. I work for Caviar on the side, which has been paying really well. Just do that like a couple nights a week, some extra cash, if there is such a thing. And yeah, I'll tell you more about it later. But for now, gotta get going. So let's go for a ride. First thing a lot of people notice about this bike is it's kind of quiet, and doesn't sound like, a beefy motorcycle or anything, which, because it isn't, for one. And the other thing is the name Ninja, where that came from was the original Ninja they made. It was the quietest production motorcycle ever, and that was the main selling point. So Ninjas are quiet. It's a quiet bike. A lot of people, the first thing they do is they put on like a slip-on muffler, something to make it sound cool. Actually doesn't really increase the performance of the bike. In fact, a lot of cases they say it can make it worse, slightly. But yeah, I didn't see the point in that. I actually kind of like it being quiet. The whole idea about loud pipes save lives. I don't know, there's this thing called the Doppler effect, so it means that they actually hear you more once they're behind you, which I don't know, doesn't do much good. I think loud pipes mostly piss people off. So here, gotta get some vegan sausage. And we're off. So we're out in West Seattle, which is kind of out of the way. Feels like an island living here. And you have to use a bridge, rather large bridge. And it takes a little while, so it's kind of like pulling teeth to get anybody to come out and visit. But it all changes in the summer because we have a place I'm going to have to show you sometime soon called Alki Beach. And it's kind of a place where like people from California and Hawaii and stuff like go to pretend they're not here. There's like, you know, sand, driftwood. They got paddleboard shops, so they kind of like set up like surf shops. Yeah, homesick beachgoers basically, but it is a lot of fun and it's probably the best part of the city. And if you have heard anything about Seattle and the people here, aka Seattle Lights, there's something called the Seattle Freeze. And what it is like people move here and they're like, oh, people are so polite and nice and everything. And then they learn that like it's impossible to get anybody to go and do anything. I had a friend who moved here from New York, and she said that they should put on the sign in Seattle, welcome to Seattle, let's hang out sometime. Because that's basically what happens. People are like, yeah, let's hang out, sometime we'll get together, and then it never happens. So find that like around Alki Beach, places like that, people a little more the aloha spirit, if you can call it that. Well, yeah, you can call it that. It's aloha. They kind of bring it with them. And it's a bit easier to make friends and get people to hang out. Especially if you show up there on a motorcycle, you got like 20 new friends in the summer. So, yeah, it's fun. Let's see. And as you can see, it is not gray and rainy here all the time. It is just spring, not summer yet. And not seeing any April showers. At least not yet. The weather here can be kind of surprising, especially like it tends to come late in the year, which is why this is especially weird. Like usually in past years, April would be more rainy and summer would come really late. Like sometimes like June and July, like it's just drizzle and gray, and then come around to August and it's like the sun just comes out and it's great, and then goes away real quick, and then in September comes back and you get like a so-called Indian summer. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah, so I love this town. It's great. Kind of time to move on sometime soon. I mean, I'll always come back, but as you can see, like you take a look at those houses there, if you can call them that, new money is moving in all over the place, and lots where you used to be one house with a yard and everything is turning into like a quadruplex, whatever. And it's all mostly from people moving in to work at Amazon and Google. And the rents keep on going higher. For one bedroom apartment now, the median price is over $1,800, and that's really not close to the median income. The minimum wage is up to $15 an hour now, which might sound like a lot depending on where you're from, but $15 an hour is basically just kind of enough to get by here. So I actually make less than that. My job is as an AmeriCorps volunteer, paid volunteer. We live on a stipend. It's basically like domestic Peace Corps. So you help out the poorest of the poor people, and you live on pretty much poverty line money, which is fine by me. I kind of got to hook up for the rent, so you know, cheap rent helps a lot. But I also I'm not really into money, you know. One thing I like about this Ninja, it was cheap to buy, and it is amazing on gas. Like, I recorded it myself, got 60 miles per gallon, just the one time I tried that. But that was 60 miles per gallon in like the worst conditions for fuel economy. That's up and down hills, stop and go traffic, red lights, wind and rain, and you know, and the traffic and lights and all that, you're getting 0 miles per gallon. So I'm gonna have to try it on the highway sometimes and see what miles per gallon it really gets. You can see from here, there's downtown, there's the skyline, the big black building. It's Columbia Tower, or I call it the Eye of Sauron. Not really. It's a nice building. On the 40th floor there's a Starbucks, and it's probably the best view of a Starbucks anywhere. It's kind of fun. So now we're gonna leave West Seattle, get on the West Seattle Bridge, which is always somehow windy. There can be no wind anywhere else, but I guess it's because there's nothing to block it. But yeah, you get up top, and on this bike, that's one thing about the Ninja. It's only the Ninja 300 is it's only 350 pounds. So I think that's pretty light for a motorcycle, right? Yeah, and I think it might have something to do with the fact that the front wheel is smaller than other bikes. But yeah, you tend to get pushed around by the wind a bit. It is a pretty awesome view from up there. And you'll notice one thing. If you look straight ahead here, that's Queen Anne Hill. And like most of North Seattle, it's very heavily residential. And it tends to be very affluent and almost totally white. And where I'm from, it is the other end of the city, and it's pretty much the opposite. When I went to high school, white kids were pretty much the minority. It was 25%, mostly Asian. And yeah, so there's really like, you kind of feel it in the culture is like, people aren't quite as like cosseted, you know, and they're not so I don't know, privileged. But that's just like one section of the city. And people talk about Seattle being passive aggressive. I feel like they're talking about the rest of the city. I mean, like anything else, it's kind of like they're not talking about us, right? That's not us. So I don't know. Make of it what you will. That's what I think. So, here, give you a little view, not too much. And south end of the city, that's where I'm from. A lot more industrial. That's where the airport is. If you look off to the right, you can kind of see Boeing Field. Where the airplanes are not so much made as tested. There's another place up in Everett. It's actually the largest building in the world, and that's where they make most of the planes, or do most of the fabrication. They have like giant robots and stuff. So yeah, going across here is how we go straight from West Seattle, conveniently over to Beacon Hill. Going to this dude Eric's house. We'll see a couple things on the way. I also lived out on Beacon Hill for almost as long as I lived in West Seattle. Beacon Hill is great. Beacon Hill is also like another part of the city. Also not affluent. Tends to be very much lower income there. It also tends to be very heavily Asian. And that's like a historical thing. Right now it is getting hit by gentrification really hard. Part because the light rail, the train, opened a subway station there. And the booze started to ooze from underground. and it's just gotten bougier ever since. But it's still keeping its identity, local flavor, you know. So here we go. This is how we get up there. I was saying to myself, the only thing that made me consider upgrading was if I could find a bike that got a better gas mileage than this. And that's probably not going to be a bigger bike, right? Actually wrong. I found out there's a Honda NC 700 and 750, which are like adventure bike kind of bikes. And they actually get better gas mileage than this thing. So I don't know how that works out, that you got more than double the CC and better MPG, but they do. So my history with riding motorcycles. The first bike I ever rode, I was 19 years old, and I decided that it would be completely fine. I'd moved to Los Angeles, and I just wanted to, like, I'd look in the classifieds, and I'm like, cars are so expensive. Like, this guy's got a motorcycle for $900. So I went out to Long Beach and checked it out, and it was a 1984 Kawasaki GPZ 750 with a straight 4 engine, a bigger, like, heavier bike, and definitely had a lot of power. And it was kind of a Franken bike. Like, the guy had put on a couple of things that were from other, I don't know, modded other motorcycles, I guess, I don't know. Put on like cafe racer style, like, dropped handlebars, and I did teach myself how to ride it. My knuckles were white the entire time, and within like 3 weeks or so I crashed it and never looked back. And I was like, forget motorcycles, it's just not my thing, I'm not any good at it. And long time later, like 20 years, my friend had a 50cc scooter she needed moved somewhere, and like across the city, because she was out of commission. So I went out and got it, and I'm like, was not looking forward to this, like a 50cc scooter all the way across like surface streets, like 30 miles or so. Went and got it, taught myself how to ride it just fine, because I know, like, they rent those things to tourists, like, you know, no big deal. Yeah, and it was a cheap piece of shit. Like, it had no rear brake, the shocks were just like gone, and like, when I got home eventually, like, I didn't want to get off of it. It was just so awesome, so much fun. So I ended up buying my own, like, 125, and within a week, it was a Kimco Agility, and I loved it. I was having a lot of fun riding it around. It was the summer, you know, until I was on this bridge and the engine just died. And the shop came and picked it up, and it turned out that a bearing had, like, come apart in rain ball bearings inside the motor. And they offered, like, either they could rebuild it, like, better than new, they said, or I could pick out another bike in the shop, and they gave it to me, like, at the lowest price, you know, with SOAR credit. And they had this Ninja 300, and I was like, I want that. And yeah, I got it, like, learned how to ride it myself. Then I went and took the endorsement course, which was priceless, which is what I should have done when I was 19. And it's been great ever since. I rode it. It's been 2 years now. Rode it straight through the winters and everything. Put 8,000 miles on it to this day. And yeah, tons of fun. So there we go. Motovlog number 1. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe, and I will see you soon.